Here we are for the video for exporting audio to WideOrbit. WideOrbit is the automation system that we use for everything around here. I mean, it's where our music's played, it's where all of our audio elements are played, and it's virtually what has tanked the careers of a lot of DJs out there. Now, with that being said, we need to find out how to get this over to there, but first of all, you may want to know why. So, let's take a look here at this script Clayton wrote. This was our first week back this summer, and these were the stories they covered for the day. So when Clayton goes in to read the news, this is his script. This is the first thing he reads. This is the first story he reads. This is the second story he reads. But
it could have just fallen down.
He has an audio story he needs to play here, and how he makes it known that he has an audio story coming up is he dictates the audio as newscast 1. Reason being that is because newscast 1 through 10 have corresponding serial numbers that we use, and they start with SPA, and then they'll go 955 all the way up to SPA 9064. So that is news. This is technically newscast 10. So these are the 10 audio spots we're allowed to use, and the good thing about these things is you can re-upload over them endlessly, virtually. So this was the golf course story I was editing in the last video, and we need to get this into WideOrbit so when Clayton is reading his story, he knows at which point he's supposed to play the story, and he'll know which story is being played based off of the process that he goes through to export it, which I will show you here right now. So this is the golf story right here. How we get that to WideOrbit is we need to use this metadata window over here for the first part. If for whatever reason this is not showing up, it's as simple as just going to Window and then clicking on Metadata. Always make sure it's under the XMP tab up here, not Cart Riff, ID3, or BWF. We still don't even know what those things are. And then you just need to find this drop down that says WideOrbit and fill out this information right here. How you know how to find that information is I have a piece of paper taped to a massive plank of wood laying around my desk over here. But for the sake of this video, I will show you what I'm referring to. So this is the same piece of paper that you'll see taped to that plank of wood, how to mix down a file. So that was what I taught you in the last video. After the audio of your story is all done and ready to go, you move on to this next portion right here, how to upload a file. So open a mixdown file in Adobe Audition. That's what we have here. And next thing we have to do is we have to fill in the metadata box under the XMP tab in WideOrbit. This is how you go through and title everything. So the first audio that you have right here, newscast 1, and this applies to any audio thing you have. It can be a report, a soundbite, anything you put in that's audio that's not included in this newscast that you're reading. So, newscast 1, and I have to label all of this in accordance with this. So, newscast 1, the artist is KTSW News, the day it will run, so today would be the 24th, and then the kill date, the end date. So if I made it today the end date as well, because say, today's the only day I need this number to run, today is the only day I need that story to run, I want it to end today, that won't work. It'll also assume today is the kill date, which means it's just going to cancel out. So always make it the next day after. It has to have like a full 24 hours for it to be able to run. Out queue, year, don't really worry too much about that. Save file as SPA 9055. Those numbers will be taped up here on the desk somewhere, and then I'll show you this next part here where you're supposed to save it all as. So go back over to Adobe Audition, title this newscast 1, artist is KTSW News, and the reality of all this is you could write whatever you want in these two boxes. I could just write in golf story and just put news in there, and that's what's going to pop up when you go view this in WideOrbit. But we do it this way so we know what we're looking at, and it just makes things consistent and uniform, so that way everybody knows what they're dealing with. The start date would be 24/16. Need to end it tomorrow so it doesn't kill off today. Then you go up here to File, Save As. And whenever this thing loads, there we are. So you always need to save it as a wave format. I usually WideOrbit wave, that works, but I normally do wave PCM. Wave PCM is generally the standard wave file that you're going to use around here. The sample type always needs to be 44 100 hertz, 16-bit. If that is never the case, you can always change it through here just simply by clicking change off to the side. Everything looks good. Channel stereo. If I were to change that to mono, that would change everything back to that one audio file going across like you saw earlier, as opposed to this stacked on top of each other feature that you're seeing. Click OK. Looks like it's all good to go. But now I need to set the location for it. So that's what this next step is here. So where you're saving this as, you have to save it as the serial number, or else WideOrbit will not read it and it will not show up where you need to put it. So you're going to save it under the Adobe drive in my computer. Make sure it's saved as a WAV file with all of this. So what I need to save, so click browse. We'll go over here to import Adobe, and then we'll save this as SPA 9055. Click save, and everything's looking good. It's saved to Adobe. Got the serial number right, and we'll click OK. Now we have to go in and preload our newscast. So the next step is open a playlist editor. That is always going to be on the desktop down over here. The username is always KTSW all caps, and the password is KTSW all caps. Connect. And this will open up the back end to WideOrbit. So this is where we can control everything in the automation system. Go to this little picture of the calendar up here. I'll choose today's date. And let's just say this is playing in like the 6 o'clock news. So everything's in military time down here. Do get used to using military time. Eventually you'll have to. Right now it is 1800 hours, or will be at 6 o'clock, excuse me. So this is how you can see everything that's going to be playing in that hour. The next thing that you need to do is plug in your newscast. So first things first is you need the intro to the newscast, which we always have saved as the newscast intro. Now these are out of date. I need to change these, but the correct numbers are printed out on the form that's taped to that plank of wood. The first two things I always do is do the newscast intro. So the newscast intro, if you just type in 3031, click search, KTSW Newscast by Jacob, that is what we're looking for. Drag this on top of the thing of what you want to play next. So there's the KTSW Newscast. That is going to be our intro that starts off the news. Then Clayton would read his newscast. He gets up to that part where he needs an audio file from newscast 1. So he gets to this part after he's read all of it. He reads this throw line for the golf course. It's when we go back over here. Now we need that story to put in. So we just search 9055. Search. Also, if you do type in SPA, the actual serial alphabetical code, you click search, it will not show up for some reason. So only the numbers are searchable. Click search. This is what we're looking for. This should say golf course on it, but just for the sake of right now, just pretend that it does. Drop that in on top of the thing you want it to play. So that's going to play next below the KTSW Newscast 1. And then I need the last thing that always needs to play is the SJMC spot. That is the underwriting spot we have sold for the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. That is always 3030. Search that. And Connor has still not uploaded the title for that, but it is always SPA 3030. So we'll drop that in right below the Back to School Outdoor Center thing, which is actually our golf story. And that is what our full newscast will look like. And so generally you just keep searching whatever the next serial number is for however many audio elements you have. Just keep taking those, dragging those in, and you can do that for all 10 audio spots we have set aside for ourselves. So we can just keep punching those in there like that, and that's how we set up a newscast right there.